Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you're watching this. Just a little bit. There we go. So, how was your day? How was your week? Did you do anything fun this week? We went to mall a couple of times. Just an outdoor walk around, and how it's set up or where it is, there's like shops, restaurants, but then there's like it's right around the river, and there's like a path around the river that you can go. So yeah, we went there. We saw this really. We went into the store called. We went into the store that has like furniture and stuff in it, and really neat decorations. And so uh, there was this sign that we took a picture with Bentley. It says, "Go put some good into the world." It's on his Instagram, at Bentley Brings You Happiness. So, yes. So, what are you drinking? I changed it up a little bit. Bentley and I had our tea time this morning because every morning Bentley and I have what we call tea time. That's when I have my London Fog, or my version of London Fog. But I decided to use the same tea bag, so the black lavender from Stephen Smith that I used for my London Fog this morning. I decided to try it with just like hot water, minus the steamed milk. So it's that hot water with organic stevia and organic honey. So, and it's actually really good. But yes, so try to do something a little different. All right, so let's talk about what everybody doesn't want to talk about, right? Diets. I know nobody really likes talking about diets. But here's the thing. I mean, when people talk about their diet, I mean, do you get confused when people say they're on a specific diet? Or do people look at you like you're crazy when you tell them you're on a specific diet? I know I do. And then do any of us really know what these diets are? Because people are always adding, taking away. There's always an exception. Well, I'm on so-and-so diet, but I eat this, or I don't eat this, or whatever. So there's always an exception. And then you have like one source will say that a diet includes this, whereas in another source says, oh no, that's not included in that type of diet. So there's really no specific guidelines for diets. And so it's, we'll talk about it, and then I'll give you my thoughts at the end. How about that? So you're talking about one source says one thing, another says another. So for example, let's talk about your vegan diet. What is a vegan diet? A vegan diet is a plant-based diet that excludes all animal products, including meat, dairy, eggs, honey, and other animal-derived ingredients, such as gelatin and whey. Now, honey, it depends on who you ask whether honey is considered vegan or not, because the bees make honey, but they don't create, like, they make and create the honey, but they themselves, you don't harm bees to make honey, if that makes sense what I'm trying to say. So even beehives, yes, they're treated well and everything, but it's not like you can beat a bee. It's, you can't they don't get the same treatment as like your dairy cattle, or your cattle does, or your pigs do, or any of those animals, or your chickens, any of those animals that they cage up and utilize. they don't get pumped with hormones or anything like that, or antibiotics to grow faster. Your bees do not. So where some vegans will tell you honey is vegan, and some will tell you it won't. I remember Sean and I years ago, we went to this, it was a really good restaurant. It was a plant-based restaurant, but it was a really good restaurant in Orlando, Florida. And we ate, and then I went in to get both of us a hot tea. And of course, both Sean and I love honey in our tea. And I asked the lady, the lady asked me if we wanted honey in our tea. And I said, yes, please. And her response was, it's not vegan. Okay, then why'd you ask? Like, yes, I still want it in my tea. Like, you asked. Of course I want honey in my tea, you know. But anyways, so that's where I say it's so confusing. And even some people don't even, themselves know and understand. Or either some people say, hey, I'm on a vegan diet, but then they'll eat a piece of cake, not realizing or not thinking the ingredients used in that cake, egg, butter, or things that, a vegan wouldn't be included in a vegan diet. And so a lot of people say that and not think of the ingredients that make up what they're eating. So which means they're really not on a vegan diet. So yes, it's very interesting. Or they think they are and not realize that they're not. So yes. But vegans they focus on consuming fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, and plant-based alternatives to animal products such as milk substitutes and vegan. Or vegan cheeses. Sorry. What? Vegan cheeses. So yes, they do make vegan cheeses, interesting enough. But as far as when I say milk substitute, please, if you haven't, go back and check out last week's video on milk. It definitely talks about your milk substitute, like your almond milk, oat milk. We talk about that a little bit. There, if you at least don't watch the video, in the description of the video, there is a link talking about what's really in these products. And how to make sure you're getting appropriate nutrition from these products versus the not so good aspect of them. Okay, so definitely check that out. If you don't watch the video, definitely check out the link. Okay. You have vegetarian, which is no meat, but they do drink dairy, milk, egg, cheese, honey. So it's just they don't eat any meat. So I don't know if you've heard, every now and then, like you hear a macrobiotic. A lot of times this will be more, I would say, in your bigger cities. I've heard it talk about, though granted not as much recently as I had in the past. So a macrobiotic, what exactly is that, right? It actually is interesting. It focuses on whole natural foods. Like whole grains, vegetables, and beans, while avoiding processed food and sugar and excessive fats. So what's the difference between that and organic? Organic just describes how the food is grown and processed, or produced. Not processed, because organic's not processed, but how it's grown and produced. So yes. All those diets, like your vegan, your vegetarian, macrobiotic, and all that, they're all considered a plant-based diet. So when somebody's like, oh, I'm on a plant-based diet, okay, it's more of an overhaul of, it's the umbrella, and all these fit under that umbrella. So yes. Now, let's get into Mediterranean diet. I remember when that was all the rave, and even still to some degree it is. Everybody needs to be on a Mediterranean diet. What is a Mediterranean diet anyway? A Mediterranean diet is actually based on traditional foods consumed by people living in countries bordering the Mediterranean Sea, such as Greece, Italy, Spain. France is one of those. It emphasizes plant-based foods, healthy fats, and moderate amounts of animal protein. It's not strict or restrictive diet. It is a flexible and sustainable eating patterns that can be adapted to individual preference and cultural background. So if somebody says they're on a Mediterranean diet, that can mean a number of things, all right? So don't, if your friend tells you you're on the Mediterranean diet, just say, what do you eat? What do you not eat? Maybe that's the best thing to say. What do you not eat is probably the better way to go with that. A proletarian diet. What is proletarian diet? I've never heard of proletarian until I looked up. It's just a poultry diet or a chicken diet. That's all you eat is chicken. So the only meat you eat is chicken. I didn't realize it was called a proletarian. I had to look that up. It was interesting. Learn something new, right? Then you have like pescatarian, which is seafood only, no other meats. I typically do seafood only, dairy, everything. The only meat I will eat every now and then is from White Oak Pasture Farms because the process and how they treat their animals, their cows, everything. They actually get to live out their life. They're humanely euthanized. So because I know that process, I will eat meat from them. But other than that, like I will not eat meat anywhere else or from any other source especially if I don't know the source. So it's seafood. Then you have the carnivore diet now, which consists of meat, poultry, eggs, seafood, fish, dairy. There have been a lot of misnomers around this diet. Okay. So, money talks. It's really interesting. People talk about big pharma. They talk about the different industries. They pay for it to say that red meat is bad for you, which some of it is. But the one that's bad for you is the processed ones in the food store. All right. So if you're going to eat it, eat organic. Make sure you know the source of it. Okay. Make sure you're eating organic, grass-fed, know the source. There are a couple of MDs. I put their links in the description. One is Paul Saladino, and the other one is Ken Berry. They've done a bunch of research and talk about this diet specifically. Paul Saladino is a little bit more flexible on the diet and adding more things into it, whereas in Ken Berry is a lot stricter with just the carnivore diet. Sean does the carnivore diet. It works wonders for him. It has helped him out in some issues that he has had, that it's cleared up a lot. But once he's cleaned out his system, so you gotta clean all that junk and toxins out of his system. Once he cleaned out his system, like now he's slowly seeing what he can add into his diet that his body's going to react to normally. So you have to give it a few days or maybe even a week. You try something, but you have to slowly add things back in to see what you're going to be able to tolerate and what was affecting you to begin with. So what you read, please don't run away from the carnivore diet. Just like I said, if you're eating meat, just make sure you eat organic grass-fed meat. Okay? Don't eat that processed shit because that is bad for you because you're getting in all the antibiotics, hormones, everything that animal was put into that animal in the industry. You're getting all that. So You also have a paleo diet. I know that was something that was popular for a while. It's a dietary pattern that aims to mimic the foods that prehistoric humans consumed during the Paleolithic area, I'm sure I pronounced that correctly, which was 2.6 million to 10,000 years ago. It's the, as Sean called it, the hunt and gather food. So what you hunt and gather. No sugar or processed foods. I joke around because Sean had started before he went to the Carnivore Diet. He did the Paleo Diet for a while, and we were in the grocery store, and he was like, he said, "No, that's not paleo." I was like, he's like, "That's not paleo." I was like, "How do you know?" He's like, "Because you got to hunt and gather." I was like, "I did. I came into the store to hunt it, and I gathered it up off the shelf and put it in the cart." So, anyways. Yes, Primal Kitchen, a lot of I would say we used a lot of the condiments for Primal Kitchen because we know there's no sugar added. They do add honey to sweeten their ketchup. So they have an unsweetened ketchup and a sweetened ketchup. Their sweetened ketchup adds honey. Primal Kitchen we think, I put the link in the description. We think it's great. It's a good source. If you're using something else you like and it works for you, keep doing that. I just throw these things in there to show you, like, if you want to get started on something while you're doing research for something else. So yes. Then you have the keto. So ketogenic is a high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet that aims to put the body in a state called ketostasis. The body burns fat for energy instead of carbohydrates. It occurs because the liver breaks down fat into ketones, which are used as fuel by the brain and other organs. So the question is out of all this, which is best for you and for your cancer? I can't tell you that. But you have to figure that out on your own. What I can tell you is to make sure it's organic, no sugar, and it's not processed. And you want to know the source, all right? And keep in mind, you want to do moderations of things, all right? So as much as I sit here and say no sugar, every now and then, like, I'll do one of those, like, bite-sized candy bars or something. I'm like, oh, a Snickers sounds good. But also know if I ate a whole Snickers, I'd feel like shit, right? So every now and then I'll do like a bite-sized candy, like Snickers bar or something if I see one somewhere. And honestly, it still makes me feel like crap when I eat that. So, because I got away with no processed, I've substituted a lot of sugar with the stevia or honey. So when we go out to eat, even though a lot of the desserts sound really good, I'll talk myself into it. Like, hey, I'm not going to feel bad this time. Like, it'll be okay. And it's not. Like, I still feel like shit afterwards. But after so many times, eventually you'll talk yourself out of, like, it's not going to be the same. So, yes, I can tell, but I also know, after saying all of this, if you're taking chemo can cause nothing to taste good. Okay, it can taste like cardboard. It could even cause water to taste bad. Or I know this. It did for my mom. So I say at that point, like, if you have no appetite, ask your doctor about Megacy's appetite stimulant. When my mom took it, we had like freaking buffets. I mean, of things, because normally my mom had like certain meals she'd cook, like her meat and then whatever the sides were and everything. But when she was taking her Megacy's, we had like 2 or 3 different types of meals. So when I say buffet style, we had buffet style, and it was just 3 of us eating. So a lot of leftovers. It was kind of funny. But also too, when my mom was taking the chemo, like, the only thing that really she could really taste was, I think it was like Domino's pizza, that had somewhat of a little bit of taste to that she could taste it. And at that point, like, if nothing tastes good and you find something that tastes good, eat it, because ultimately it's more important that you get something in your system, like food wise, than what you're putting in your system to some degree. I mean, chemo is poison anyway. So, if you're in that situation, eat what tastes good to you, okay, and what you can taste. Other than that, try to do all the other stuff as much as you can, like the organic, no sugar, not processed, know the sources. Try to do that as much as you can, okay? And remember, everyone is different. So what works for some may or may not work for you. I say that if you haven't heard of Kris Carr. Kris Carr is a New York Times best-selling author, host of the Made It to Thrive podcast. She's a wellness leader who has been thriving with a rare stage 4 cancer for over 20 years. She did her own research with the doctors when she was diagnosed with this cancer. And she found a diet that worked for her to help stabilize her cancer. So when you stabilize it, that means it doesn't grow, it doesn't shrink. So she did this whole juicing thing, and she stabilized her cancer. A few years ago, it may have been a little bit longer, her tumor started to shrink. After all those years of that, it started to shrink. She wrote a book called Crazy Sexy Cancer. There's other books. There's actually a DVD if you're interested. But again, like I said, it worked for her. It may work for you or it may not work for you. But it's an option and something to look into. Okay? So just keep in mind and don't get frustrated. You're just going to have to figure out what works best for you. And only you can figure that out or know that. Okay? You can take ideas from other people. You can try it, but it has to work for you. All right? Well, until then, do something for you. All right? Take care of yourself. Enjoy your drink. And we'll see you next week under the willow tree.